सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। 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 Please repeat. सर्ववेदांत सिद्धांत गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्। Verse number 3, Bhagavan Shankaracharya Ji said, 3 things coming together for an individual is very rare. Human birth, Manushyatvam, desire for liberation as a human being, Mumukshutvam, and the right guidance for liberation, Mahapurusha Samshrayah. 3 things lining up at the same time for an individual is indeed God's grace. Just like you have some constellation which happens once in 30 years, or northern lights, very quickly you tell, look at that thing which is there, it doesn't come often. Shankaracharya says, these 3 things coming together is also like such a rare phenomenon. God's grace has brought this to us, but we should increase these 3 things such that we become recipients of more grace. Then he said, what are the miseries of being unspiritual? In the 4th and 5th verse, Shankaracharya is surprised if a person becomes inadvertent in one's own well-being, in attaining the self, in discovering our blissful nature, lies our own good. So he says, if somebody is inadvertent in that, doesn't work on their mind, doesn't do Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, he says it is very surprising, means one has to do these things. And he said, don't stop halfway. If you have started walking this journey, take it all the way to the end, where one can abide in one's own blissful self. We had seen the example of that person who walks to Vaishnavi Devi, stops 1 mile before, did not do the main thing for which he had gone there. Like that he said, if you have come here, until we get self-abidance, until we get realization, enlightenment, give it whatever name you want. Until it happens firmly, he said, don't turn back. Then from verse number 6, Bhagavan Shankaracharya Ji is telling us, knowledge alone is a means for liberation. First, we have to appreciate what is bondage. He said bondage is being ignorant about our true self. I am the blissful self. Ignorance about that itself is our fundamental cause of bondage. Not knowing that, the samsara gets projected. In that samsara, we get attached to few things. Then greater samsara starts. Immediate causes of bondage will be something very trivial. Person is cause of bondage, some object is cause of bondage, some experience is cause of bondage. But Vedanta is not interested only in immediate causes of bondage. Fundamental cause of bondage is I have misidentified with something that I am not. Means I have identified with it, which is actually an erroneous identification. I start feeling I am this body and mind, which really speaking I am not. So if ignorance is the cause of bondage, liberation will come through knowledge alone. Shankaracharya is emphasizing this point so that our reverence for Vedantic study increases. Generally what happens is, if we get any advice related to some sadhana, we feel very happy. If this is the problem, he said, do this and your problem will go away. Now somebody says, if you have a problem, you study Vedanta and your problem will go away. That connection is difficult to make. If I listen to Vedanta, many sadhakas feel, even after several years, merely by listening nothing happens. He said, only by listening it will start happening. Because ignorance will go away only through knowledge, not by doing something. I have to do something so that I can become ready to listen. If my mind is not ready to listen, then all other sadhanas will help purify that mind. One is cleaning the basket, another is bringing water in that basket or putting milk in that basket. If container is impure, milk will get spoiled. But merely if I spend my whole time cleaning the container, never put the milk, never drank the milk, then whatever nourishment I have to get, I will not get. So cleaning the container is purifying the mind. Putting and drinking the milk is knowledge. So we gave several examples in other text. While you are cooking something, cooking rice for example, the main reason for cooking the rice is fire. Although there were so many steps before. You went to the supermarket, got the rice, everything is there. But what will cook the rice is fire. In the same way, what will give us liberation is knowledge, because that ignorance has to be removed. We will keep using these words. Ignorance, liberation, knowledge. So we have to be very clear about what are we ignorant of. Maybe we should have one quiz. Vedanta 101. What is bondage? Give 4 options. Otherwise, our study of Vedanta doesn't get a good grip and a direction. What are we trying to remove? See, we are trying to remove ignorance. That is why everything else is being done over here. Now Shankaracharya says, even Upanishads mention that karma cannot give liberation. He is quoting Upanishads now. Look at the 7th verse. Amrutatvasya nashasti vitte netyeva hi shrutihi braviti karmano muktehe ahetutvam sphutam yatah amrutatvasya nashasti vitte netyeva hi shrutihi braviti karmano muktehe ahetutvam sphutam yatah. If you are studying Sanskritam, there are nice sandhis, samasas, it will keep coming here. Muktehe ahetutvam. Shankaracharya says, Amrutatvam, immortality, there is no way one can gain it through wealth. Amrutatvasya na asha asti. One cannot gain immortality through wealth. This is being said by Shruti. Shrutihi braviti. Shruti here refers to Upanishad. That Upanishad is saying one cannot attain immortality through wealth alone. Which Upanishad says that? Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in a very sweet conversation, is saying. So the story goes, sage Yajnavalkya, very scholarly saint, scholarly sage, used to debate in the court of Janak Maharaj. He is getting ready for sannyasa, renunciation, and he has two wives, Devyani and Maitreyi. He says, I am ready to leave for both of your well-being. I can distribute my wealth between both of you. Out of them, Maitreyi was a thinking individual. She asks Yajnavalkya Ji, whatever you are leaving behind for me, all that wealth, will it give me that which you are leaving this behind and going to seek? And he says, no. This wealth will give you comfort, it will not give you immortality. Then she says, what am I going to do with that wealth which is not giving me what I am also seeking? I am seeking that truth. If this wealth is not giving me that truth, what should I be doing with it? Then he starts the teaching of Upanishads, teaching of the truth. That is a conversation between Yajnavalkya Rishi and Maitreyi. First thing he says is, if you are born as a human being, one should see the truth. Atma va are drashtavyaha. If he says are, means he is referring to Maitreyi. Very fondly he is saying. One should see the truth. Okay, how should I see the truth? He says, close your eyes. Shrotavyaha. Listen to this truth. Mantavyaha. Think about it and meditate upon it. Nididhyasitavyaha. The main point there is, Yajnavalkya Rishi is telling Maitreyi that wealth cannot give immortality. Pay close attention to this statement. He is not saying wealth is unimportant. He is saying to seek moksha, to seek liberation, wealth is not the means. To have things in this world so that our life goes on, means is wealth only. So have the right perspective, that is what he is telling Maitreyi. Braviti karmanaha muktehe ahetutvam sputam yatah. Shankaracharya says, therefore it is very clear that karma cannot give liberation. If you are alert, you will notice some discrepancy here. What did he say in the first line? Wealth cannot give immortality. What is he saying in the second line? Karma cannot give immortality. He says, how did you connect both? Wealth is needed for karma. The traditional understanding of this concept is, if somebody has a desire to be fulfilled in this world or other worlds, they would do certain rituals which have the traditional connotation of karma. And to do that karma, you need wealth. You need a pandal to have the yajnashala. All the ingredients will be needed. So many brahmanas will have to be fed. All of that is part of that ritual. If you want that result, even if you miss one step, that result will not come. So how will he do that yajna? He will need wealth for it. But that action by itself will not give immortality. And that wealth which is needed for action, that will also not give immortality. That is the main essence of this verse. Our Upanishads are filled with such sweet stories. They don't have very complex plot. Very simple. It will start and end. But it will carry a message with it. If you have seen Upanishad Ganga, there is another story of Raja Janashruti. It comes in Chandogya Upanishad. Janashruti was a very rich king and very generous also. He would give a lot of charity. And he gets this thought that nobody is more generous than me. Nobody is greater than me. I am one of the greatest kings. And he was a great yogi also. He knew the language of birds. So one day he is standing on the top of his palace and he sees two birds flying, two swan birds. One swan bird says, "Do you see that beam of light coming? Don't cross it. It belongs to Raja Janashruti. Belongs to Raja Janashruti. Don't cross that beam of light." Second swan bird says, "You are talking about Raja Janashruti as though he is some very great person. Is he even greater than our Raikwa? Raikwa. Just saying that, they take a detour and fly off. Now he would have been happy if he didn't know the language of birds. But he knew the language and he starts wondering, who is this Raikwa? Who is greater than me? The swan bird said. So he sends everybody to search for that Raikwa. And finally they find one person who was a cart puller. He says, "This is Raikwa." Then they ask that Raikwa to come to Maharaj. He says, "I'm not coming. If your king wants, let him come." Then this king goes with lot of gems and jewels and wealth, with the idea that this Raikwa knows something which is making him greater than me. I will give this wealth and I will take that knowledge and become greater than him. Upanishad Ganga, it is dramatized. When he comes first, the king says, "What do you want?" to Raikwa. Raikwa says, "Can you scratch my back?" Means he is least concerned who has come. He is reveling in his own bliss. And he sends the king back first time. Then the king starts wondering, what mistake did I do? He says, "I came there with pride. I thought I could give my wealth and take this knowledge." Second time he goes with humility, and that is when Raikwa teaches him highest knowledge. He also teaches him several upasanas, which is called as Samvarga Vidya. And that upasana is very fascinating. The result of that upasana is, generally human beings run towards objects. That upasana is so powerful, if somebody does it, sense objects will run towards that human being. He'll become like a magnet. Anybody interested in knowing? Very good. I saw you all nodding. We are seekers of the truth. Why do we want to manifest objects, pull them towards us? Anyway, they are getting pulled. We are getting pulled, they are getting pulled. The idea there is, upasana gives focus of mind. With that focused mind, he got knowledge of truth. Now there is one more very important topic Shankaracharya Ji is introducing here. Until verse number 6, whatever he shared, was that not sufficient to communicate this point that karma cannot give liberation? Why does he have to say that? Upanishad says this. It is just to instill this thought in us, instill this understanding in us, that valid means of knowledge is Upanishad. What is the truth? What is the nature of truth? To understand that truth, the Pramana, valid means of knowledge, is Upanishad alone. So he says, if we are seekers of the truth, whichever Upanishads we might study in the future, or we might have studied, or we are studying, that Upanishad is not a book. That Upanishad is the means by which knowledge of the truth will take place in my heart. That Upanishad, the words, they will dispel ignorance from our heart. When I say heart, it is intellect. In that way, we should look at Upanishads, with that reverence. In fact, any knowledge that takes place, it takes place only through valid means. If knowledge of color is taking place, the valid means are the eyes. If I say this is yellow, unless you see it, knowledge of this color will not take place. If I chant Om and I ask you, what did I chant? You say, I heard Om. Now, how did that knowledge take place that I chanted Om? Because you heard. So, ears are the valid means for sound. If you want to know whether a food item is spicy or not, don't look at it and judge. Valid means of knowledge is tongue. Sometimes it looks very innocent, and it's very spicy. So every object has a specific valid means of knowledge. Like that, what could be the valid means of knowledge for Atma? Definitely not sense organs. Because this Atma is such which never becomes an object of sense organs. Consciousness is such, it never becomes an object. And if it doesn't become object of sense organs, mind cannot analyze it. Mind needs data to analyze. Unless you have seen something, heard something, you cannot start thinking about that thing. So sense organs and mind, they cannot. So we say, Upanishads which were revealed to the rishis, it is not a composition of the rishis. That was revealed to those pure minds. Those Upanishads, they are our valid means of knowledge. Now look at the beauty of Pramana. If knowledge takes place through Pramana, and you are convinced about the knowledge, that knowledge cannot be undone. For example, you saw this color is yellow. Now I tell you, think of this as blue. Once you know that Pramana is eyes, and you have used that Pramana through which knowledge has taken place, that Prama cannot be erased. Fire is hot, is knowledge. You have not heard fire is hot. You have not said fire is hot, but you have touched and seen that fire is hot. Knowledge has taken place, fire is hot. Now try to think about cold fire. He says, you might say whatever you want. I know that fire is hot. You cannot erase a knowledge which has taken place through Pramana. Now just imagine, by God's grace, Guru Parampara's grace, Shastra's grace. If this knowledge takes place, I am not this body. This knowledge takes place, I am not the mind, I am that infinite consciousness. Just like other knowledge could not be erased, this knowledge also cannot be erased. This is the magic of Pramana. More we think about it, more we appreciate it, we will start enjoying what Upanishad is doing to us. But if I feel, oh, I have just touched and seen that fire is hot, maybe some other method will come by which I will come to know that fire is cold. Unless I have not understood, or as long as I think that touch is not the valid means of knowledge, my knowledge of fire is hot will still be doubtful. I might feel something else will contradict it. Maybe someday we might invent cold fire. Maybe someday this will become blue. That is lack of pramana. So if Upanishads have told us that we are infinite, we are consciousness, and we feel something else might tell us otherwise, so we have to think again about pramana. Why can't any other pramana work for consciousness? Because consciousness is not an object. And all other pramanas, they depend upon sense organs. Unless you see something, knowledge will not take place. Unless you analyze it. See, if you want to know whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not, we don't need Upanishads. Because rain is an object of sense organs. You see, you analyze, you predict, you will get the answer. So there are things for which science will be the pramana. If I want to know what is this water made up of, chemical composition, I don't need Vedanta. Because that object is an object of mind and sense organs. What if I want to know what is the nature of consciousness? Because it is not an object of mind and sense organs, we need Upanishad Pramana. Because this question also we will get, is science and Vedanta at conflict with each other? Can't science tell us what is the nature of consciousness? And can't Vedanta predict laws of physics? They need not. Because both are saying we have different subject of inquiry, different object of inquiry. That's why we need not contradict each other. If body has a problem, medical science is the valid means to know what is the problem. Because body is an object. Okay, so Shankaracharya Ji, very subtle way, he introduces Pramana Buddhi here. Pramana Buddhi means what is the valid means of knowledge? What does my intellect accept to be true? Okay, do you want an applied version of Pramana Buddhi? Not philosophical. Children, they spend so much time with friends. They are hearing so many things. And they are hearing things from parents also. Whom do you think children will listen to? Don't say friends or parents. The one in whom they have Pramana Buddhi. If they have Pramana Buddhi in friends, they will listen to friends. Out of many friends, they might listen to a particular friend. Why are you listening to only that person, not others? Because I have Pramana Buddhi in him. And if they have Pramana Buddhi in parents, they might have 100 friends saying something else. They will still do what parents are telling. That's why Bhagavan Shankaracharya says, or Bhagavan Krishna says, Yadyad acharati shreshtaha tattad eva itaro janaha. Then, sayat pramanam kurute. Lokah tad anuvartate. May we live our life in such a way that this person's life instills pramana buddhi in the other. May our conduct be such that the children or anybody else, they start seeing pramana buddhi because of their conduct. Once pramana buddhi is there, whatever you say, the child will do. Because he sees this as valid means of knowledge. Again, we should not do the right thing only to instill pramana buddhi. It's a byproduct. We have to do it because it is our sadhana. That is the right thing to do. So 100 other things might be telling us you are Jeeva. One tiny Upanishad has one line telling us you are that infinite consciousness. Whom do I listen to? Where I have pramana buddhi. Unless my pramana buddhi comes in Upanishads, what Upanishads are telling me will remain mere information. That is why this verse has come. This we chant in Purna Kumbha. Na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyagena ike amrutatvamanashuhu. For all the children, please teach them the correct pronunciation of Purna Kumbha. I went to one home, this child said, "Mom, aren't we doing the Kumbhakarna thingy?" Because for him that Purna, Kumbha, something, everything looks same. And he says, aren't we doing the Kumbhakarna? And it is done only for sannyasis. Purna Kumbha is done only for sannyasis. And it is the same spirit. That Purna Kumbha represents completeness in life. That may we have material prosperity, peace and joy, and may it lead us to spiritual growth. So that kalash, along with that water, proportionately sized coconut. Otherwise, coconut is so big, kalash is. Kalash and the leaves, all of that put together represents 5 elements. You have space. Inside that kalash you have space. Inside the coconut you have space. You have air. Then you have fire. Where is fire there? We say the diya, which is next to it. That is fire. Technical ways, the shape of that thing is fire element, rupa. But if it complicates, just take the flame is the fire. Then there is water. And there is earth element. The leaf has come from the earth. Coconut has come from the earth. So that Purnatva is what we are seeking from the sannyasi. That may our life be blessed with Abhyudaya and Nishreyasa. Abhyudaya means overall prosperity with peace. And Nishreyasa is self-abidance. Both of this should come to us. That's why we chant that. And we also acknowledge that by only wealth, by progeny or through action, we will not get self-abidance and immortality. It will come only through letting go of ignorance, tyagena eke. Because immortality is our nature. We don't have to bring it from outside. That is that mantra. Now Shankaracharya Ji says, let us discuss some simple steps for spiritual life. If somebody is convinced that I have to seek the truth, where should I start? What is my first step? Ato vimuktiyai prayateta vidwan sanyasta bahyartha sukhasprahassan santam mahantam samupetya deshikam tenopadishtartha samahitatma Ato vimuktiyai prayateta vidwan sanyasta bahyartha sukhas pruhassan santam mahantam samupetya deshikam teno padishtartha samahitatma. Ataha vidwan vimuktiyai prayateta. Therefore, what did you say before? He says verse number 1 through 7. Because human birth is rare, three things coming together is difficult. All of that keep in mind. Karma cannot give liberation. Therefore, one has to strive for liberation. Meaning what? It will not happen accidentally. That as I grow older, I will become more and more mature, and that will bring liberation. He says we have spent several lives like this, nothing has happened. Ataha vimukte prayateta. One has to put special efforts. Shankaracharya Ji, in one text he writes, there are three types of mumukshus. Tivra mumukshu, manda mumukshu, and ati manda mumukshu. Ati manda is very nice. Ati manda is somebody who says, I am walking on the seashore. If I find a piece of gold, I will lift it and take it. Means what false expectation he has, that casually I will find some gem and I will take it. He says like that this person feels, in life if moksha comes my way, I will take it. Right now I don't need it. The point here is making conscious effort. What is the effort I have to make? He says the first step is sanyasta bahyartha sukhas pruhassan. It's a very nice compound. Sanyasta means given up. What did he give up? Bahya artha, outer objects. Means did he leave all the objects and go and live somewhere else? He says no. Bahya artha sukha. He gave up the joy coming from sense objects. What do you mean? Joy coming from sense objects. He says sukha spruha. Spruha means craving for that joy repeatedly. Whatever joy he has experienced before, there is a tendency to crave for that joy again and again. He says that spruha he has given up. Means Bhagavan is telling here, Shankaracharya Ji, if we want something, we'll have to give up something. I cannot say, I want this also, I want that also. Meaning, if I want the higher, I will have to give up the lower. So joy coming from sense objects is my lower joy, and bliss of the self is higher joy. If I want bliss of the self, first step is I have to withdraw my mind from this world a little bit. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna gives very simple advice and moves on. He says, Arjuna, you want to give up sense objects? I'll tell you a technique. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkhayonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Samsparshaja bhoga, which come with contact of sense organ with sense objects, any enjoyment. Samsparshaja bhoga, he says it has sorrow as its root. Dukkha yonaya evate. Whether we see it or not, it is rising out of sorrow. Why Bhagavan? What is the sorrow in it? He says either it will give you sorrow right away, if it is forbidden Vishaya, agitating Vishaya, or because it is impermanent, it will go away someday. And that going away of a thing is sorrow. Adyantavantah kaunteya. It has a beginning, it has an end. If that object itself is impermanent, the joy coming from it will also be impermanent. Therefore, na teshu ramate buddha. Wise people don't revel in sense objects. But if Arjuna says, Bhagavan, but I revel in sense object. Bhagavan says, I told you, wise people don't revel. Buddha na ramante, you decide. Bhagavan is very masterful in his words. If you want to call yourself Buddha, the criteria for that is not reveling in sense objects. If somebody says, I don't see it as dukkha yoni, I see no sorrow, he said, doesn't matter. Buddha see it. See, this advice is nice for a tivra mumukshu. One who is fully committed, that person will benefit from it, and that thought process should be there. But there are mellower methods given to us. One method is this. We should make a list of different things which are giving us joy. And be very honest in that list. Don't make it a politically correct list. Whatever gives me joy, everything I should write. If somebody has some addiction, write that also. Because it is giving joy. Now within that list, next step is to mark those things which are forbidden, which are nishiddha, which we ourselves acknowledge this is not the right thing. It is against my values, although it is giving me joy. But this is not what I should be doing. Then comes another group which are agitating. They are not forbidden, but after doing that thing, after enjoying that thing, mind feels very agitated. Put them in the second category. It might be something like some conversation with somebody. You'll notice it is very strange. It gives joy also, but it agitates you at the same time. You say, why are you calling that person? No, I have to call. We'll end up calling, end up talking, and feel agitated. He says, put that in the second category. Third category are things which give us joy, but they are harmless and innocent. Gardening gives joy. Cooking gives joy. Remember, all of them are vishayas only. All are objects. But there is a difference between the quality of joy. Otherwise, if you say, cooking gives joy, and what did Bhagavan say here? Sanyasta bahyartha sukha spruhasan. Give up the joy coming from all outer objects. Before we give up all objects, we should give up joy coming from forbidden objects, joy coming and giving us agitation. Tamasic joy, rajasic joy, first have to let go. Sattvic joys are innocent. They will help us in keeping our mind cheerful. Otherwise, it will become an impractical advice. He is not getting joy from anything in this world, and neither has he held on to consciousness as the joy. That in-between state is very miserable. So they say, just analyze the quality of joy. Quality of joy coming from addictions, quality of joy coming from agitating things, and joy coming from sattvic things. Let go of rajasic and tamasic, hold on to sattvic. You'll notice movies also, they have three types. One is totally tamasic, don't even watch those. Then you'll have rajasic, which will agitate the mind. Then we will have sattvic. The main litmus test is, how did I feel after watching it? While watching it, it might be joy. What happened after? That is the mananam that is sadhaka has to do. Letting go of that craving for rajasic and tamasic joys. Step number 2, what should be done? Santam mahantam samupetya deshikam. One has to approach is santa, means go to a teacher. Santa means somebody who believes in Sat. Taittiriya Upanishad, this is how it is described. Santa Mahatma is somebody who believes in the truth. And he will make us understand the truth in the way that he has understood. That na gets added to Sat. That is how it becomes Santa. Sat, if you add na in between, becomes Santa. Santam Mahantam. Mahantam means a large-hearted person. Santam Mahantam Samupetya Deshikam. Having approached him, who is a teacher or a Deshika. That word Deshika is beautiful. We chant in Totakashtakam. Bhagavan Shankaracharya Ji. Santam. One who has such a firm conviction in Sat. Mahantam did not leave anybody out. He's composed stotrams, composed prakarana granthas, composed bhashya, different types of sadhakas, different age groups, thought about all of them. And deshikam. Deshikam means if somebody is lost, the one who points direction is Deshika. Disha word means direction. So the one who shows us Disha is Deshika. But only thing is, he doesn't show direction outside, he shows the direction inside. Points us towards the self, that is Deshika. Santam Mahantam Samupetya Deshikam Tena Upadishta Artha Samahitatma. Shankaracharya says, once you hear the teaching, don't get busy with other things immediately. Whatever we have heard, in that we should keep our mind. Tena Upadishta Artha, the meaning of whatever we have heard. Samahitatma. Place the mind in that teaching, revel in that teaching before you do anything else. Even if you have to question or refute, he says first understand it properly. Tena upadishta artha samahitatma. Now that word sannyasa, sanyasta bahyartha sukhaspruhasan, it will keep coming. And we should know what is the spirit of sannyasa. They say there is letter of law and spirit of law. Letter of sannyasa is renouncing formally. Ochre robes, they are the indications of sannyasa. But what is the spirit of sannyasa? What is the, sometimes they call it as external sannyasa, internal sannyasa. They say internal sannyasa is necessary to study Vedanta, no matter who that person is. So what is the meaning of internal sannyasa? It just means stepping out of the familiar for seeking something higher. When we say renounce, let go, what are we letting go of? The familiar. For what reason are we letting go? To seek something higher. This is Puja Guruji's definition. And he says, if you look at any of your achievements, it has come because of sannyasa vritti. If a teenager goes to pursue higher education outside, he has to do sannyasa of hometown. Means he has to let go of his familiar surrounding. Let go of the comfort zone in his home cooked food, everything is nice. That unless we let go of the familiar, we cannot go to the higher. Even in jobs we do it. If we get something higher, we let go of that which is familiar. We have moved to a different country because we saw something higher and we let go of the familiar. That is the thought. Just like we understand sannyasa in other things, with worldly joy also, Shankaracharya says, think in the same way. That unless I loosen my understanding of worldly joy, I cannot seek higher joy. In Mahabharata, there is a nice story that comes. There is one person who is chased by an elephant, wild elephant. And he doesn't know where to go, he climbs a tree. And that elephant is shaking the tree. To his bad luck, he loses balance, falls from that tree, finally holds on to a branch. And while he is holding on to it, that branch is still bending down, down, down. He notices there are two rats, one white rat, one black rat, nibbling on the edge of that branch. Means it will break any moment now. And he looks down, there are few cobras with their fangs up, waiting for him to come. And in that whole impact, he sees there is one honeycomb up. The honeybees have started stinging him. And in the middle of everything, one drop of honey falls on his tongue. And he forgets everything. Forgets elephant, forgets the rats nibbling, forgets the cobra, forgets the honeybees stinging him. And the depiction of this is beautiful. Bhagavan Vishnu comes on his Garuda. And he says, can I save you? He says, no, I'm enjoying right now. Let me finish this honey, then we will talk about it. So in Mahabharata it is said, that is the story of a Jeeva. The elephant represents samsara. It has chased us many times, it is shaking the tree even now. White and the black rat represents day and night. Time is flying by. That cobra represents Yamaraja. And the honeybees, they are our day-to-day problems. Somebody cut me in traffic, somebody was harsh to me, somebody said something. It keeps stinging. And in the midst of that is that honey which is sense objects. And it is so powerful that it makes us forget everything else. So Bhagavan just says here, become aware of this. This is how our life is. Unless we let go of the lower and start sincerely doing Shravanam, it cannot lead us to the next step of spirituality. Okay? And we saw there are different types of joys, tamasic, rajasic, sattvic. Now compared to gardening and cooking, you will notice joy coming from sadhana, joy coming from japa. It's even higher quality of joy. Joy of devotion is even superior than that. He says, start getting used to better quality. Isn't it true with other objects also? Once you get used to better quality, the lower one doesn't sound good. Fine dining, fabric, music, sound quality. Once our taste becomes for the higher, lower taste has to drop, but it needs some effort. Okay. Just one last point. There is one commentary by Chandrasekhar Bharati Swamiji on Vivekachoodamani. He brings very beautiful points to explain certain topics. The second step which was there, one should go to a teacher to learn. he gives two examples. One example he says is of Shukdevji Maharaj. Shukdevji Maharaj, his father was Vedvyasji. And he learned a lot of things from Vedvyasji. But he was able to revel in that truth, see the result of this knowledge, only when he learned from Janak Maharaj. So he says we should pay attention to these characters in our Puranas. And there is one quotation which says, Acharya Dhaiva Vidya Vidita Sadishtam Prapati. Means only that knowledge which is gained through humility, that knowledge alone gives the result. Otherwise that knowledge becomes a burden. That is what it says. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.